The Index, the companionless arena in which I'm sure that you made your first real payslip of credits, and the Profit Taker, the credit pinata skittering around the Orb Valleys with the most knockdowns and magnetic spam in the entire Origin system. They both offer credits as their main reward, but which one does it better? Which one is faster, easier, or require the most amount of setup? And what about the additional rewards of the Profit Taker? All of that coming up right now. First up, let's talk time comparison. For the Index, largely due to the hopeless AI, going solo the fastest time we were able to accomplish was 7 minutes. However, going with randoms was even worse, taking about 8.5 minutes. This is largely due to the fact that people keep strolling across this line. I've already talked this to death. The TLDR is that do not walk across this line unless you absolutely have to. Okay, but what about bringing a full squad of dedicated players? Well, in the past we have consistently been able to complete Index rounds in as little as 3.5 minutes. Problem? We tried for half an hour at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, which is prime time for gaming, and could not find a full squad. We could barely find 2 people. And even if you only had to spend 5 minutes, the in-between time of people getting ready or finding replacement members is time spent not actively farming, bringing the time back up to 6 to 7 minutes. The exception is during the double credit weekend, where all the sweats come out to restock their credits, at which point 4 minutes including recruitment should be possible. Alright, now let's take a look at the Profit Taker. Surprisingly, there is actually an insignificantly small difference between going solo and going with a squad. Going solo is always going to be the slowest for reasons we will get into in a moment. Still, with a bit of practice, you can achieve sub 4 minutes, with restarting the mission being included in those 4 minutes. Now, unlike the Index, it is actually next to impossible for your teammates to sabotage this fight. Best case scenario, you get another capable hunter, but you could also get a support like Wisp, Chroma, or even Volt. Leeches, though still annoying, have little ability to actively harm this process. We found that going public commonly shaved 1 minute of this mission, giving us a solid 3 minutes with no prep time. Let's talk credits. The Index requires you to pay 50,000 in entry fees, but then rewards you 250,000 every time you complete a round, which means that it slowly trends towards 250,000 per round completed. In the meanwhile, the Profit Taker only drops 125,000 credits, however, drops 125,000, which means that Chroma's effigy can trigger on this, bringing it up to 250,000 as well. You have to stand here and cast effigy when a Profit Taker falls and stops moving for a second, by the way. But anyways, let's not forget that the Profit Taker offers other rewards as well, primarily the Charisma Toroids, which are worth 6,000 standing with the Vox Solaris. By using Warframe.market to find the price of the items which can be purchased with aforementioned standing, we can conclude that one Charisma Toroid is worth 5 platinum. This is doubled with a resource booster. You will also receive bonds, which again can be traded in for standing, which again can be traded in for arcanes, though these are not quite as valuable. These are going to be worth just about 2 to 3 platinum for every single last Profit Taker. With a resource drop booster, we're gonna get somewhere between 14 to 16 platinum every time we take down the Profit Taker. The Profit Taker is also a bounty, which means that it will drop additional rewards from this drop table, and for some reason it may also drop 60-60 mods for arguing, which shockingly is worth 50 platinum. It also has a 1.5% chance of dropping critical focus, which is worth 34 platinum. So far, it is not looking great for the Index, but we still have to talk difficulty. In the Index, you can get away with using a 20,000 endo build and still clean house. With the Profit Taker, there is no easy way out. You will require 3 specialized weapons, a Chroma build with 2 Umbra Forma, and Exodia Contagion, which at the time of making this broadcast is rather cheap, but who knows how the market will look in a year from now. This has to be a clear win for the Index. Furthermore, however, you also have to rank up both Vox Solaris and Solaris United individually, and that means one at a time, before you can do the Profit Taker, creating a steep barrier of entry. With all of the former out of the way, our pick must still be the Profit Taker, for offering more credits per hour and allowing you to farm platinum at the same time. And with all of that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some builds, shall we? Yes, we shall. Let's go ahead and get to it. We don't want to waste too much time on this. So here we are with Chroma. Now, first up, Archon Shards. These are all health shards, and this one is Tower Forged. Doesn't have to be Tower Forged, obviously, just a small bonus. Avenger, absolutely not mandatory, but very nice to have. Arcane Guardian is almost as good as Grace, but if you have both, we would recommend you use Grace, just because with the shards we have more health, so we will be using Elemental Ward with Cold for more armor, and with more armor we want more healing. Raids will give us plenty of energy when we take damage, and very importantly, Vigorous Swap here is just so good. We will be changing our weapons constantly because of the gimmick of this boss fight anyways. Then we have Prime Sure-Footed, which is pretty much mandatory, but I'll talk about what you can do if you don't have it in a little bit. So, and yes, you do need 3 Umbra mods. Zenith can shoot through the ground with its alternate fire, and through the bubbles as well, so you can kill the pylons more easily. If you don't have the Zenith, you can use the Opticore instead. This weapon will allow us to deal corrosive and cold, and please pay attention to the primary dexterity. Kuva Nucor, secondary dexterity. This one can deal heat, radiation, and viral. You can get a progenitor bonus for magnetic, so you'll be able to deal with that as well. Right now we have no way of dealing with toxin, but that's just how it is, unfortunately, on Chroma. Then we have the Sashi, which is just my Bala that has been renamed. This uses Exodia Contagions, which will make it pretty easy to get some kills, which will allow you to empower your other weapons. And also it will be able to deal with both impact, puncture, / electricity, and gas rather easily. So we want to use those damage type when the boss fight calls for it. Now for magnetic, we're going to be using the Void Rig, and we're going to be using it with this build. We could level this up if we were willing to use one more former. Might happen one day, I don't know. We're going to be using the Mausen for our Argon. Again, we need Argons to be able to deal damage to the Prophet Taker's limbs, and this is the build we will be using. If you want to invest more into this, you can format this and this slot, and then you would be able to fit this one on here as well. Okay, so that's pretty much all for the build itself. Except if you don't have Prime Sure-Footed, you can use Yunaro to get Poise. If you already have Prime Sure-Footed, you can use Mandurai, and we can use, sorry, I'm in the way. We can use Void Strike. We are just going to be talking about the DPS and the carry role here. So this is a very expensive build for Mesa if you want to min-max. For most of you, this is probably going to be fine. Again, Umbra can be normal intensify, and this can be normal flow without losing too much. Again, enemy radar, very important, because you want to know if the enemy spawns slightly behind the walls, you can adjust for it and get those kills before they escape. Velocity, very powerful on Mesa. Arcane Energize, extremely useful for this, but not necessary. And other than that, I feel like the build is pretty self-explanatory. And then also, Cenuric. We will be using Cenuric in spite of the fact that we will be in a channel ability most of the time. We want the 20% ability strength you get from the new, what's it called? The new ability there. The Hardened Wellspring, right? More ability strength. Am I in the way? Yes. Anyways, so what else? Regulators, right? Here they are. And a extremely useful tool as well shall be the Arclex with Energizing Shot. Just so you can get the energy orbs from a distance and get a little bit more energy from them. A suggestion for a carry build. Arcane Guardian, very powerful here. Obviously, armor is going to make you more tanky, but it's also going to make your Iron Skin scale better. And your Iron Skin is basically your main ability for this particular build. As your only job is to carry the point, your Mesa should be able to get all the kills for you. Here, we're going to be using Iron Shrapnel. This allows us to expound the rest of our armor and deal a little bit of damage, but that doesn't matter. The important part is that we can get rid of any small tidbit of armor and then run over an energy orb and immediately cast our Iron Skin again. Here's the problem though. Right now, our Iron Skin costs more than the energy we would get back from a single energy orb, which is 50 in the index. So how can we get around this? One, we can use Energizing Shot, as I showed you before, on the Lex, or the Aglex, or whatever, any single target pistol. Or we can reduce our blind rates to rank 5, and that will also bring the cost down to 50 energy. Right. Again, because you're going to have a lot of points on you all the time, your energy pretty much going to be drained. So it's pretty much hit 2, get the orb, and press 2 again immediately. But that's pretty much everything from this video. Thank you so much for watching. It took a long time to make, and I hope you liked it, and I do look forward to seeing you in the next one.